Hey guys! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And if you're interested in supporting me further, you can do that by going to my Patreon site or Ko-fi link. They're both in the description below. In this video, I want to speak to you guys about a book that I've been reading recently that I really love. I love this book so much, and I really wish just like I wish everyone on this planet meditated, I wish that everyone got a chance to read this book at least once in their lifetime, especially, I would say, the INFJ community, because I think it really, really applies to all of us empaths, all of us highly sensitive people, all of us beings who are trying to create a better world in a general way. And the book's name is The Body Keeps the Score. It's a brilliant book, and you can Google it and find it on Amazon or anywhere else. Like, I really do recommend that if you have a few moments. It's a long book, long-ish book, but if you do have a day or two or a week or two to devote to reading this book, I would highly, highly recommend it to you guys. The main thing that I really got from the book was how much my experience in childhood with, all the madness that went on mirrors a lot of the experiences of PTSD or trauma patients. And so a lot of the stuff that he shared, numbing myself or dissociating myself from the experience or pretending like it didn't exist or pretending like my emotions didn't exist or shutting myself down from the people around me or hiding from the people around me because of all the stuff going on, or acting as a mediator and then not being able to understand what was going on with my own body, my own emotional state. So much of it was so related to and mirrored, as I said, the PTSD symptoms and PTSD is a post-traumatic stress disorder. So in the book, he studies a lot of veterans from the World War II and Holocaust survivors and obviously domestic violence survivors and rape survivors and things like that. And so he studies all of this, and he delineates some of the things that happens physically in the mind, in the neuronal connections in the body with the vagus nerve and the physiological reactions, and obviously the spirit and the way a lot of these individuals become dejected, depressed, and collapse within themselves. And I noticed that for myself as well. Like, I used to, in my childhood, be literally hunched over like this. Like, I literally spent all my time like this. Because of yoga and because of the fact that I did a lot of work on myself, I was able to really relax my shoulder and pull them back and be strong and confident in facing the world. But I had collapsed within myself, my chest. I had to protect my heart. And so I did that physically by hunching over around my heart and protecting it that way. And so I really just read this book, and I obviously heard the audiobook because I just walk around while I'm in my apartment or I'm sitting around, playing Candy Crush while I listen to these audiobooks, or walking to get food, things like that. I'll just listen to these audiobooks, and this audiobook was 14 hours long, 14, 15 hours long. And it literally passed by in a matter of days. It was so fascinating to me, noticing all these parallels between the way I dealt with the fact that my family situation was a little bit off, and the way these PTSD patients or trauma patients or domestic violence survivors dealt with their own situations. It was so fascinating to me how epigenetically your body changes its genes in order to deal with trauma, in order to deal with all of this stuff that happens to individuals on a daily basis, and how often and how common it is among individuals. I think one of the reasons why, and I've done videos on this in the past, one of the reasons why INFJs turn out to be INFJs is partly because of their home situation, because of their childhood. Now, I am not blaming my parents for anything. It was the way it was. They were doing the best they can. They did the best they could. They were young, and as I said, they did what they can with their limited knowledge about child rearing, right? Like how to raise kids. No one really teaches you any of that stuff, right? So they did the best they could. And so this is not a blame game that I'm playing here, but I really want you guys to understand that everything that happens in our childhood, of course, from the age of 0 to 7 specifically, is basically delineating everything that you're doing in your adult life, right? And you guys know this. You probably heard of it before, that everything that happens, especially in the first 2 years of your life, but also the first 7 years of your life, your childhood, is how you deal with the world in general. So if you were able to trust your caregivers and they trusted you and they took care of you and there was love, then you will deal with the world in a very loving, trusting manner. If not, then you won't, right? And so all of this information has been just culled together and put together into this form, into this book, The Body Keeps a Score. And the person who wrote the book, have brought in research from so many different avenues, from so many different places, so many different kinds of trauma, so many different kinds of survivors. There's so many different things that people are dealing with, all of it which creates trauma in your body, and all of which we have to deal with. Otherwise, it sits there and creates a separate personality, or creates a separation between that part of us and ourselves. And so I do highly recommend, if you do have the time, as I said, please do read the book. Get it from your library or get it on Amazon. Just read the book. As I said, it's a little bit long, but it literally is, you'll just be sitting there reading the book if you haven't already read it, and think to yourself, wow, I can't believe this. I literally was sitting there the whole time thinking, I cannot, first of all, believe how people hurt each other. How people who are supposed to be taking care of you, caregivers, incest and molestation and abuse, sexual abuse, rape and all that stuff. How people who are supposed to be taking care of you, who are supposed to be your caregivers, who are supposed to be the person of authority, or like even priests, pedophiles, things like that. People who are supposed to be in positions of authority are just taking advantage of all these pure, innocent children and just ruining their lives in general. I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm so afraid to have children, is because I'm so afraid that I would do something foolish. I might have a bad day and say something to them, and for the rest of eternity, they're traumatized for life. And that would just literally kill me on the inside. If I was the reason why my children were going to therapy, I would just die. So that's, of course, one of the reasons why I am a little bit wary of bringing a child onto this planet, because I'm so afraid that I'll do a terrible job as a mother. There's so many things to take care of. I'll try as much as possible to give them as much love as I can, but is that not really enough? Who knows, right? But just listening to this book, as I said, it just really opened up my eyes to how the body changes, the mind changes, the neural connections, the neuropeptides in your brain, endorphin levels and serotonin and oxytocin levels, and so many changes epigenetically, genetically. All of the environmental changes that happen in your life affect you so profoundly that you can sit there and think, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Yeah, that happened in the past, but I'm totally fine. It's fine. It's okay. But physically, your body is saying something different. And I realized one of the things that really surprised me was that the heart rates of abuse victims, or children who've been in those situations, or PTSD victims or veterans, things like that, their heart rates are higher. Their physiological levels are basically in a state of constant hypervigilance, hyper-awareness, because they're afraid that if they let go for a few seconds, they're going to go back into that state of being abused or being traumatized, and they need to be in a constant state of alert. Does that remind you of someone? INFJs are always in a constant state of hypervigilance. And so that really, a lot of things that I was reading the book, listening to the book, and a lot of things that happen in the book, I'm like, oh my God, that's INFJs. That's what we do. That's how we live our life. Or that's empaths, or highly sensitive people. So I really wanted to share this with you, and I hope that you will take me up on this. I have shared TRE with you guys in the past, which is a trauma and tension and trauma releasing exercise. That's another thing that I'd recommend to everyone in addition to meditation. And this book, I do recommend that if you haven't read it, please go get it right now and read it. Skim through the most of it if you want. Like, I mean, if you're not interested in research as much as I am, I love research studies and the scientific basis of all of this stuff. But if you don't, like, skim through most of it. But part 5 kind of teaches you a lot about how to get over trauma, how to release it from your body, things like that. But I do recommend that you read the whole book because it is fascinating how there's so many, as I said, parallels between PTSD and trauma patients and the stuff that I dealt with, or the way I dealt with my own childhood and my stuff that happened in my life, my trauma and my assault and things like that. And so as I said, read it. And please, if you have read it, let me know what you guys think about it. And if you do read it, let me know what you think about it. I think that this book should be a must read for every individual on this planet. If you guys have any questions for me, obviously, please comment below. And of course, if you're interested in supporting me further monetarily, you can do that by going to my Ko-fi link. The link is in the description below as well. Again, thank you for listening. I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.